Hi everyone, how are we all doing today? Good news! The FIA GT Sport Nations Cup official season is finally back. Well, for me, this is going to be the first official season that I compete in from the very beginning, even though I have raced a few races in last year's official season, but I could say I had no idea what it was all about at that point. But this time it's a little bit different. Well, first of all, my name is Jure, and thank you for joining me for this GT Sport video. If you haven't yet, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below if you enjoy the content and want to see more of it in the future. It's completely free, but it helps me out at least a little bit. As we get ready to jump into qualifying, you might have seen some of the names in the lobby that you might have recognized, but we'll get to that later on. Unfortunately, I lost a few thousands of my DR rating throughout the week, so I'm back in A-rated lobbies instead of A+ like the last time. But no matter what, the guys in here are still really fast, so let's hope for a good result. As you can see, we're in shifter carts again. This is basically the same round as it was in the first round for 2020 season. This is Lago Maggiore center circuit in reverse, for those of you wondering. On the right hand side, you can see how much time we have left in this session, so this is going to be our final lap to try and get higher up the grid. Although 4th place is also not that bad, but we set that lap time without slipstream. Now, however, we're safely tucked into the toe of the grid in front, which will help us massively. Coming into turn 1, using the end of the orange barrier on the right as a braking marker, we keep a tight line through the corner and get a good run out of it. The guys in front pulling us along nicely through this flat out section of the lap as we get to the end of sector 1, basically halfway through the lap, and we're a 10th up on the current fastest lap time. One of the guys in front makes a big mistake and it sends them flying across the track, which didn't really help with focusing on this left-hander, probably the hardest corner on this track to get right, because it's not hard to either run wide or spin out. Back on the main straight, still in the slipstream, we have a short sprint for the line left now. Can we get on top at the end of this lap? And yes, we do. That's pole position, at least for now, as we can see some others still out on track finishing their laps. Let's hope this running order stays the same. It would be an amazing result for us. And as the time runs out and with everyone crossing the line, it is confirmed we'll be starting on pole for this race. Never would have imagined this, and I was so excited and happy about getting pole position in this kind of a lobby. But as I've said, it's not the highest ranked lobby, and taking a look at the points chart, if we finish first, we'd get 217 points. Wouldn't be my best ever points haul, but close enough. To be fair, if I got over 200 points from this race, I would be happy with it. So basically, should try to finish at least 3rd, but hope for a win of course. Now, as the start of the race approaches, take a look at who's in 2nd place. I'm sure most of you will recognize the name VLX Adventure, one of the very well-known GT Sport YouTube content creators. I didn't know he was actually streaming this race, went to check it out afterwards, and if you missed the stream or want to see his videos and live streams, go check out his channel, which I'll link in the card on the top right corner. Of course, he's also one of the fastest guys in this game, so even beating him in qualifying was a big achievement for me, but let's see if I can hold him back for all of the 25 laps, as that's how long this race is. And away we go. Once again, this is a 25 lap race with no tire wear or fuel depletion to worry about, so just flat out racing all the way to the end. If we take a look on the left side of the screen, we can see that we're already almost a second ahead of James, so I thought I could maybe get even further ahead if he couldn't get back into my slipstream and catch right back up. Well, that was my initial plan at least. Spoiler alert here. It didn't really work out that way. It would have been great on one hand to just drive off into the distance and take the win, but on the other hand, that would make the race quite a bit boring. And also in general, I usually make my life difficult in what could have been an easy situation to deal with, and this race was not an exception. As you have seen, I was a bit too eager on the throttle getting out of the second to last corner, and almost spinning myself out. That was the one mistake the guys behind me needed to get back in the slipstream, and the race will get a lot more interesting now. Not gonna lie, I was expecting some fighting for P1 throughout these opening laps of the race, but I was still hoping that we could work together with someone, getting away from the rest of the pack and battle it out at the end of the race. This was my first time racing against James, hopefully it's not the last time, who's now right on the rear bumper, but I didn't quite know what to expect. I have been watching some of the other content creators saying that it's always best to race smart and work together, than just fight for a position into every single corner and just losing time. I was hoping that that would be the case here as well, and I was right. The lap that we just did wasn't really one of the best, that's why we're all even more bunched up together now. And going down the main straight, this is usually where the slipstream has the biggest effect. Still in the lead, going into turn 1 for the third time in this race, but the race is still so far from over. Lately, I have gotten a lot better at racing with karts in this game. They are so twitchy though, and every single sudden movement of the wheel can cause you to lose control, and it's game over. But I got used to the handling of the kart and minimizing my wheel inputs, let it be steering inputs or throttle and brake inputs, so I've been getting some good results. Like I mentioned before, my best ever points haul was also from a karts race in the previous exhibition season, so I was hoping that this round could go just as well. As we round up lap 3, James decided to get ahead, and I was completely okay with that. I did ran a bit wide when he went past to give him enough space on the inside, but neither of us lost that much time. Didn't really want to go for a move into this corner, moved out of the slipstream before the braking zone just to make sure I don't hit him, but we did touch on the apex of the corner anyway. Nothing major, so we both continue racing, but you will see later on an example of the game being weird. I'll explain it more when we get to that. And we now jump to the TV camera to get a better view of the action. The Spaniard behind is also sticking with us, but the gap to 4th place is slowly starting to open up. That plan to finish at least 3rd is now starting to play out quite well. I really like the views with this TV camera in this game. You really get some amazing shots from it. But as we're going down the main straight again, we jump back on board. Holding that 2nd place for now, not too worried about losing the lead, because it probably wouldn't take long to get past with the help of the slipstream again. Getting a better exit out of the hairpin, it seems, giving a little bump draft to the kart in front. I was thinking to myself that I shouldn't get too close to him in the corners, especially the S's here and the left-hander coming up. Especially in these cars, that could be a recipe for disaster if you bump someone at the wrong time and at the wrong place. So whenever I got close at that point in the lap, I just got off the throttle a little bit, stayed back and made sure to get a good line through the corners myself, and stick with him till we got to the straight. Jumping onto the end of lap 6, going around the final 2 corners, still behind James here. But as we get on the main straight, he runs a little wide and loses a bit of momentum as it seems. But as I've said before, I was okay with staying behind, wasn't really thinking of getting ahead. This was more of an instinct of going to the right and get into the lead again when I saw him slow down just enough to have a chance for that. Would have loved it if this was the final lap and I was in the lead like this, but a lot can still happen until the end. But we are still in a good position now to be able to fight for the win later on. Taking a look at the minimap, you can see that we have quite a big gap to the rest of the pack behind us, so I'm pretty sure the 3 of us will decide who takes the win in the end. Jumping ahead a few laps again, we find ourselves in lap 12 now, so almost halfway through the race. Nothing much really changed, we're still leading, James right behind us and Pegasus following both of us still. I did get away from them slightly here, not enough to break the toe, so they will probably catch right back up to me by the next straight. Coming round this second to last corner and going into the final one, you can see how the sun comes onto the screen here. The only thing that bothered me about it was the fact that it was almost impossible to see the apex of the last corner until you were basically on it already. Pretty much had a blind turn in most of the time, so I think that that's where the practice came in handy, as you knew when and how much you have to turn in. As predicted, both of the guys behind caught up at the end of the straight. James coming really close in this braking zone, but not make any contact. We were both racing the same way, I could say, because I rewatched the race from his point of view and heard what he had to say. Even before I've seen that, I already knew that he wouldn't hit me or try to go for some kind of a dive into any of the corners. Of course, if I leave the door open and someone goes for the gap, I can only blame myself for that, but that's a whole nother story. At this point in the race, I was more worried about me not making any mistakes, like I'm known to do. Probably the fact that I got so comfortable with karts helped me stay a bit calmer throughout the race, because usually I would be stressing out quite a bit if I had someone following me that close for such a long time. Someone getting past me then would make things easier, as I feel I rather follow someone close behind than be the car in front. It's weird how our brains work sometimes, isn't it? So James got back past us now, and as soon as I saw the gap to the Spaniard behind, I wanted us to be able to pull away and decide the win between ourselves. Unfortunately, that didn't work out as I had hoped again. Skipping another uneventful part of the race, which was basically just following each other around the track and pushing each other along, we can see James making a big mistake here. I really didn't expect him to come back onto the racing line at such a low speed, and unfortunately hit him right on the apex of the last corner. When I saw that contact didn't send him off to Narnia, I was so relieved that we can both continue racing. We'll use his own words here, there were a few scary moments for me in this race as well. Fortunately, we're still the leading two drivers in the race, but it could have gone a lot worse for him than for myself. I would have probably waited for him to get back in front of me anyway, but thankfully I didn't have to. Take a look at this slow motion shot now, and let me know down in the comments what you think about it. To me, it doesn't look like I even got close enough to him to give him a bump, but to him, it looked like I touched the back of his car there. That was never my intention at all, so James, if you see this, compare what it felt like to you and what it looks like from my view. That's the moment I was talking about earlier, that the game can be weird sometimes. Of course, there will always be different events happening with our network connections, but anyway. Once again, we jump ahead to the final part of the race now. We have 5 laps left to go, and now I felt like it was time to start showing my nose a little bit and try to get ahead. Staying on the outside and getting a cutback out of the first corner, we now go side by side. Probably not the smartest of things to do through this part, but let's see if we can both survive this again. I know I was the one that was going for a move, but I was confident enough I would be able to give him enough space and still get ahead. Some great racing from both of us here, I would say, but coming into the final corner, I might have misjudged my braking point by a tiny bit and made contact with James. As you might have noticed, I waited to get back on the power until he was back safely in front of me, so that it wouldn't be my fault for him losing a position. Well, unless I overtake him cleanly, that is. Insane speeds through this first part of the lap again, making sure to stay right behind the car in front, but not too close, of course. I heard James say he was trying to give me space going through the S's, just like you see me doing when he's in front, so that's why I said we raced in a similar way. As we get up the hill, we're finally back in the lead again. Unfortunately, James gets pushed wide by Pegasus here, making him go down to third at this point. We run wide on the exit a little bit as well, going onto the grass with our left side, but it didn't affect us all that much. Pegasus looks like he's pulling his guns out as we're approaching the end of the race, and he also wants to win this, of course. Wouldn't have a problem with the overtake down the inside, but missing the apex and forcing us wide, that I wasn't too thrilled about, especially because of what happened a few corners back with James. So I said to myself that I'm not having any of that, and I will get past no matter what it takes. Heading into this left-hander, which is not really the best place to go for an overtake, I decided to go for it anyway. Pegasus obviously sees me coming and backs out of it, but gets on the inside of this next corner, and again pushes me wide to get ahead. We can also see the Swiss driver behind closing in on us, so all of a sudden this could be a 4-way battle for the win. As James in front comes over to the right-hand side of the track, which helps me massively to get into the slipstream and ahead of Pegasus once again. Ooh, how close together we got once again here, but doesn't look like there was any contact. Unlike a few laps ago where I was about half a car further back and it was like I hit him, so you never know what to expect with this game. Gaining ground ever so slightly and getting closer to the car ahead, have to be really careful not to mess it up now. I don't think I could live with myself if I messed up anyone's race at this point. But pay attention to the radar at the bottom right corner. Our friend Pegasus is going to come into the picture once again, forcing their way ahead, but we get a much better exit onto the main straight and once again get the help from in front, so a massive thank you. And we can also see the guys behind not working together to catch up to us, but rather fight among themselves, which can only benefit the two of us in front, getting a perfect line through turn 1, but I feel like we're too far behind to be able to contest for a win. Even though slipstream does help, but don't think it'll be enough. Speeding through this middle part of the lap so we can focus on the ending. Made it round that awful left-hander for the final time. We do get close together with James again. The thought of diving down the inside into the final corner did cross my mind, especially as I had to lift off quite a bit, but I didn't want to win the race that way. It would have been a clean overtake or nothing at all. So we come home in second place, which is still an amazing result in on itself, and once again completely unexpected. Well, at least didn't expect it before the start of qualifying. It was an amazing race, really intense, but probably one of the best ones I had ever since I started playing this game. I sure hope some more races like that are coming in the future, and we can see the total points we got was 208. That was enough for me, and I didn't enter another race in that round. That will be all for me for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day or night, and goodbye.